Hello, hello, hello. I hope the audio and video works. So, hope any one of you guys can confirm that before we start. Ani and Bodhi88 say hello. Hey guys, good to see you. So yeah, I think everything should be working as always. Audio, video good? Nice. Can't see you. Shit. Nah, I don't think I'm ever gonna stream with a camera. I'm sorry. Very little upside with a lot of downside. Don is back. Yep. Good evening, Don. Good evening, man. Good evening. So yeah, we'll talk about this pump. Pretty nice, pretty neat move, especially later part of it. And then we'll talk about some of the altcoin weakness that we've had and all of that stuff. So, gonna be nice. When Bitcoin hits 300K, don't use this scam. I mean, if Bitcoin hit $300, then I might. But the more expensive Bitcoin gets, the less likely I'm gonna be using any doxing material. Whereas Cred's doing spaces like Mondays every time. So if you wanna watch his stuff, you gotta go to Twitter, usual time. How are your golf lessons going? I've been taking it easy on that front, based on the fact that I ordered new golf clubs that were like tailor fitted, whatever, to me, and they're stuck in delivery, and it kind of feels shit playing with the old ones that I have when I know that there's a bunch of new ones coming. So I've been taking it easy. But yeah, before we start, shout out to the sponsor of the show, which is FTX. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. They were formerly known as Blockfolio and do all the mobile trading stuff that you would ever need, on top of a bunch of other cool stuff. So if you wanna do anything in that direction, I'd encourage you to check it out. So yeah, appreciate that sponsorship. More of the Sunday streams, enjoyed it. Unlikely. Usually I'm on the weekends, I'm busy, but I just felt like it was a good time. Hey Don, hope you're doing well, my friend. Very much so. Hope you're doing too. I mean, I'm tired. Like I'm pretty much tired every day nowadays. Gonna have that checked out soon because it's not normal. But other than that, all good, all good. Number up or down? I mean, it's been going up. We can talk about this real quick. It's pretty nice when like a plan works, and we talked about this in the stream in Sunday stream or on Wednesday. I don't remember. You guys always have a better memory than I have in this regard. I said if this is flipped, the market's gonna go vertical, basically. I think that was Wednesday last week. For the people that don't believe me, just rewatch it. And for the people that do, I mean, yeah. But I said, like, if this flips, it's just gonna moon. So the moment I saw it flip, I bought some and I sold basically into 48K. It's basically right where I sold it at. I could see it go further based on the fact that we have a bunch of Bybit leverage short. And you can see that on any kind of funding site that you want to visit. Like there's like Bybit's heavily short and has been the entire way up. So there's a good chance like it liquidates them before doing anything else. For me, it was just like the setup basically played out. It was a 4-hour setup, as you can see. Flipped this resistance into support and then ran, and I wanted to sell anywhere above this wick. Now, in general, I think this is still like lower time frame looks like up unless we start losing 47.5. Like this is what needs to be holding. Until then, just looks like up is more probable than down, right? If this goes sideways in here, maybe wicks up and then goes down, I'd get more careful again. But until then, it makes sense lower time frame to go up. And the higher time frames, I mean, the monthly still looks garbage, like complete and utter garbage to me. The weekly, we talked about this on Sunday and on Wednesday. It looks really good. Bounced from support. Now we're approaching resistance in the 48.8 region. I want to see how like price behaves there, because this is quite big resistance. But if that breaks, I think there's a good chance we go back into the 58s to 60k, right? So this is the next resistance and pretty much the last resistance before we go all the way back up into the 60k area. And yeah, you can trade this however you want to. In my opinion, this breaks out above here on a closing basis, so above 48.8. There's a good chance that we're just gonna head higher. It loses this 45k support, and there's a good chance the cycle tops in, and you make like a complacency bounce top here. Whichever you prefer, you can trade. Now, I think in general, makes a lot of sense to just give it some time, besides like taking these low time frame easy trades, because this one was quite easy. Because the thing is, whenever you have like a wick like this and you start grinding towards it, the minimum that you get usually is a sweep off that high, and then you can still decide, right? So for me, this buy was pretty easy, and then you can still see, okay, is it gonna sweep that high and then just dump? And it swept the high and didn't dump, so I was pretty sure we were gonna go all the way to 47.5 and above. So there was like a good confluence there between the 4-hour level, and then obviously also, and this is something we talked about as well on last show, the daily support, resistance flipping into support here. So this being closed above makes the trade that much easier, right? So flip from resistance here to support. The moment you close above, it's probably gonna get like at least another leg. So there you go. Newsletter out-traded everyone, even in the S&P. Yup. Newsletters got like has been. Hey Dawn, my kid loves watching you because of your avatar. Which one does he like better? The Vossified one or the original one? I need to know. Craig is crushing the spaces. I'm enjoying the format very much. Yeah, he's the king of spaces. Up unless down every time. I think you're misunderstanding this, but I mean, honestly, like I get where people are coming from when they're saying this, but like the thing is, like it's all like this. The price movements, right? They're always kind of like that. It could go up, it could go down. There's very few brief moments where I'm gonna say, okay, it's probably gonna go up rather than down, or it's like the setup is so good that makes sense, right? So for example, on the 4-hour level that I talked about here, like that's a good trade to have where I'm reasonably certain that it's gonna go up rather than down, and then I play that. And it's the same thing on the higher time frames too, right? We're at weekly support, so I'm like, okay, there's a good chance we're gonna go up rather than down, but those moments are always gonna be brief. Anyone that tells you that they know like where this is gonna go short time frame every time, it's just lying to themselves and to you. Most of the time it's like you don't really know where it's gonna go, but there's few, and I mean at least for me there's a few times where it's pretty damn obvious where it's gonna go. So for example, we closed above 35 down here. I was pretty damn certain it would at least go to 38 if not higher, right? Like there's these kind of things make it so that you can take trades that are in your favor. Anything beyond that, I mean, if you expect to kind of be able to predict every single candle, then you're gonna be wrong. Not how it works. I missed that. I was expecting 4, 6, 5 retest on daily. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just miss out. Like I like on this, we could still do that, by the way. Like I wouldn't be surprised if we went back to 4, 6 to that like support area, which is pretty strong. So I'm expecting to hold. Sorry about that. Loom.dot spamming me. How many shots have you had till now, or are you just tired? I'm just super fucking tired. I don't know why, but like I've been sleeping really poorly in the last few weeks. So it's like I have to I'm just in the evenings I get really, really tired, and then I can't sleep. It's pretty bad. Hey, don't use leverage and how to use it safely. I mean, that's a topic. In general, if you're asking, you should probably not use it. Is my answer to that. Because most of the people that use leverage lose, and there's so many opportunities in this market that you don't necessarily have to rely on it. So it's like the entire market has been going up constantly, right? And the only, or like one of the few ways to lose is using leverage. So I usually just don't recommend using it. Then again, like most of my money comes from leverage trading, or like not most, but a lot of it. So I'm not saying it's blanket bad. It's just like for most people, it's just not something that they should get into. The duck on the YouTube thumbnail, yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. How did you decide on that specific candle body to play that as a reclaim? You mean the 4 hour? So I explained this last stream before it happened. So if you're interested in like non-hindsight analysis, look that up again. But so what we did, right? And I can show this on a clean chart. So we had a massive impulse to downside, right? And then we put in some sort of consolidation area, right? And the kind of the meat of that consolidation, so the area where like price spent the longest amount of time in, is this, right? Like you had the massive, like at the low that was set, you had like a reaction to it, and then you just went sideways in this for a while. And you can see how this resistance in here was important down here, right? So you can like clearly see this is an important area. It went sideways in here, tried to pump, failed, and then turned it into resistance. So now you know that a bunch of people that are in here are underwater and they're getting fucked, right? So price went down, and then the situation flips, right? Everyone that kind of shorted down here starts getting under heavy pressure the moment you kind of regain that support level. And that's what happened. So it's kind of like you have a bunch of people underwater on the long side, and you fail to break down. So it just makes sense to kind of flip that script, and then you have a bunch of people short underwater, and then you break out. So there you go. It's not that much to it. It's just the first consolidation, first serious consolidation. You could have used this as well. But I knew like that was, I mean, it worked out too, right? So found resistance, went up, you broke it, and then you got like a rebuy lower. Like both of those work. I just like this one because kind of that's where most of the time was spent before the false breakdown. So that's why I found it important. It's interesting how Coinbase and BitMEX are diverging again. If you're using proper risk management, leverage is irrelevant. Yep. But the thing is, like, it's like giving someone that isn't trained a weapon, right? The weapon doesn't do shit, right? It's just like if you use it wrong, the weapon is gonna do damage. And so I wouldn't give someone untrained just a weapon in their hands and be like, okay, knock yourself out. But obviously, it's not the weapon's fault when shit happens. So yeah, I mean, that was just a neat low time frame setup. Played out pretty nicely in confluence with the daily that we talked about last stream. Where I was like, if this breaks out to the upside, you're gonna go towards 50K, and that's what we did, right? So pretty nice setup that worked pretty much the day after we talked about, like 2 days after we talked about it. Give a 13-year-old a Lambo and see what happens exactly. It's not really the Lambo's fault if shit happens, but you wouldn't want to give that. And the thing is, like, everyone like legitimately everyone that isn't trained turns into a full-blown idiot when you put leverage in their hands for the first time. It's just how it is. I've seen pro poker players get completely wrecked. I've seen pretty much everyone get wrecked on leverage. If you're not used to it, you're like, okay, I'm gonna play this properly, and then at some point you start gambling, and then it all goes out of hand. Like I started out that way. I was lucky because back then I traded on Bitfinex and the maximum leverage was ×3. So I would have lost my shirt if that wasn't the case. Luckily for me, it was ×3. So I actually managed to make money for the time that I spent trading there. But yeah, like when you start out trading leverage, you're going to lose money. Maybe you start winning for a tiny bit, but you're going to lose money at some point. And then you notice, okay, there's actually more to it than just pressing the buttons and hoping it's going to go up or down. Clicking the leverage button is an instant 50 IQ drop for most. Yep, 100% agree. But yeah, that's Bitcoin. I think there's not that much to it. Like I said, daily broke out. As long as we stay above there, it makes sense to be like the daily is bullish now and the weekly is bullish. Now the weekly is starting to run into resistance. So the moment we kind of approach 48.8, makes sense to be a little bit more cautious again. But I mean, nothing too bad. The only thing that really troubles me is the monthly time frame, because this doesn't look too pretty. But it's not like it's terrible. I mean, it is pretty shit, but yeah, it's not the end of the world. Like this could, in theory, be the one pullback that looks like this. Just seems unlikely. But we just ignore the monthly and look at the weekly and the daily, and then all is good in the world. What happened with Evergrande? Thoughts? I'm not an expert in that on that front, but yeah, fucking wild. For the people that don't know, like it's a huge like Chinese real estate company that is kind of going under right now, and they have shitload of money invested and a shitload of debts right now that they're gonna default on probably. It's really interesting to look into. I can only recommend, if that's at all interesting to you, to kind of research it a little bit. So yeah, monthly is terrifying. Yeah, 100% agreed. Just don't look at it. Close your eyes. Just do this. Problem solved. Now everything is good in the world, right? Nothing can hurt us anymore. Tether has commercial papers with Evergrande. I very much doubt so. I'd be surprised. But how do you know? Is this just pulled out of your ass? Because I think it's unlikely. Yo, Don, someone made you a cool NFT on OpenSea. The guy says he just wanted to give it to you as a thank you for your work, by the way. Okay. I can, I don't know, DM me and then I'll send you an address to send it to. Appreciate that. Problem is in choppy environments, sometimes you can get filled and stopped in same wick on leverage. Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that you can do wrong when you're trading leverage. But like leverage itself isn't the problem. Like leverage doesn't change anything. It's just like the thing is like, when you're not using any kind of risk management, you just use leverage to increase your position size. That's why it gets problematic. But yeah, let's talk about the altcoins real quick. So we've had this Bitcoin rally, right? 2 days of green. Now look at ETH, for example, hasn't moved. That is something that's been like not really the case for the longest time. Like whenever Bitcoin moved, ETH moved bigger. Right now, it's kind of equal. And that's an outlier because most of the coins have actually been pulling down in the last few days, even though Bitcoin's been green. ADA, Bitcoin Cash, XRP, everything's been going down a little bit. And that's typically not the worst sign in the world, because when you see Bitcoin pull up while the altcoins aren't doing too hot, it means that you don't have too much speculation on the altcoins going on. Because something that people have been underestimating recently has been like, people are like, okay, the market isn't really leveraged too much, so like we're not gonna get like a wipeout or whatever. But what they tend to kind of disregard is that there's a shitload of leverage on the altcoins. And so there's an easy, like Bitcoin drops a little bit, the altcoins just wipe out completely. So that's been disregarded for a lot of people. And whenever altcoins go up, that just kind of increases. So Bitcoin leverage goes up a little and the altcoin leverage goes completely through the roof. And then the market is at danger again for like doing something like this or like this. So as long as the altcoins aren't taking up too much, that's a good sign to me anyway, especially given where the market is right now, right? Because this is basically the battleground for, is this a complacency bounce or not? Because as long as we're not crossing back above 50K, you can still make a good argument for like the complacency bounce, right? Whether you want to trade it or not, like completely different story. But like the moment we start trading back above like 53 or whatever, the complacency bounce argument is just really, really shitty at that point, right? So given that that's the case, that Bitcoin is right at the cusp of either confirming or invalidating the complacency bounce theory, you don't want to see too much action in the altcoins, because then leverage is going to increase on those, and then it's more likely that Bitcoin's going to pull the rug. And you wouldn't want to see another rug pull here, because I think the moment we start approaching 43 to 40 again, we're really in trouble, right? So this low has to hold in my eyes. We go back above there. I'm not going to be buying 40K. I'm going to be looking for much, much lower, right? So right now, I'm more than happy to kind of be on the bullish side. Even though, like I said earlier, I sold at 48K, but I'm willing to rebuy at like 46 if I get to, or like in general trade around a little bit, but on the bullish side. But if we start losing supports again, I'd much rather be the one sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything, right? So right now, I don't mind taking some risk, and I'm looking for setups. If we lose 46K again, or like even worse, 44K, that's going to look completely different, right? That's where I start getting really, really defensive, and I'm not even going to bother with like 10% moves down. I'm going to be buying much, much lower if I get to, or into strength high up. So like for me, this is basically where the battle is for. And right now, the Bulls have like a really good first step here. Now the more important one is crossing back above 50K, but this is at least something, and I'm not hating on it. Your chart is bearish as fuck. Yeah, I mean, this is still like a lower high, right? It's still a lower high, but I mean, that can change. The moment you break this, it looks completely different. But yeah, I would say like looking at this is not really the best looking chart. It's just, you zoom in on this part of it and you're like, okay, this is not bad. In general, like this combination, pretty shit, but that doesn't have to hold up, right? Let's say this starts breaking up and goes above 50K, then it's like it suddenly looks really, really good, because then you have a double top, maybe it pulls back a little, but then immediately pulls up, and then you have a double top here, you know, and those usually don't hold for long, right? So we're very, very close to making like something like that happen, where it's like you get a double top into this area, and then that's not going to hold, and then you're so close to this top that it's going to be a macro double top, which is not going to hold most of the time, and then it starts looking really good again, right? So we're pretty close to one way or the other, I think. Don, how do I get a refund for my Litecoin FOMO long? I mean, that's on you, mate. I feel like I warned you guys enough on Twitter. Are you currently fully out of the market? I'm just trading. So technically I'm not in a trade right now, but I've been just trading around. For me, it's just like when I'm saying, okay, this looks bearish, or like this is bearish, this is bullish. It's just the difference is when I'm saying this is bullish, I'm going to be looking for trades to take on the long side. And if I'm saying this is bearish, I'm just not going to do anything. That's kind of how I've been moving. So I've been saying like that. I've been saying be careful here, especially when it lost 50k again, and then I just don't do anything, right? I'm not necessarily like shorting heavily. The only time I shorted was the Litecoin thing, which was this here. I shorted this because it was damn obvious it was fake news, and there were always gonna be consequences, right? When you get like fake news on a big coin like Litecoin that bleeds over into like Bitcoin price action, that's always gonna full retrace. And how these kind of play out, if you're interested, how I play these, and I talked about this while it was happening on Weekly Open with Ledger and Josh, and how these play out, right? So you have like normal price action, it kind of does whatever it wants to. Then fake news comes in, and the moment the momentum runs out on fake news and it's actually starting to be confirmed that it's fake news, it starts kind of leaning downwards, right? And this looks really quick, but I mean, those were like 15 minutes of time to research whatever was posted, which I did. And then I kind of figured out, okay, this is just bullshit. So I slammed short. Generally speaking, I'm trying not to play with leverage right now, because if I'm wrong, I have to pay a shitload of taxes for it. So I just don't. But in this case, that was like a 95% setup. Like these always, 95% of the time, this setup is going to play out. And then you'd be stupid not to take it, right? So I just took it. And then how these always play out. So you have your base here, right? So this is where it went sideways before it pumped. And no matter where the market goes or whatever, like if the market's bullish or bearish, if this is confirmed fake, this move is going to basically play out the same way on the other side. So the other side of the range. So what you get is you get a pump and it starts leaning down. And everyone that kind of FOMO longed here is going to get fucked. And that's going to push price below where it actually started to push up from. That's why we got this. And that's why I closed there, because I was like, this could go up or down now. Like the obvious trade is done for me. That was the last time, like in a long time, that I used leverage. So there you go. Donald Trump fan confirmed. Did I say something wrong? I don't even know. But yeah, this is kind of how you play these things. Like you don't want to be like, you see fake news or whatever come in. You don't want to be the guy that takes profit here. It's always going to go below the base of it. And then whether it's like, whether the market's going to sell off more or just going to like run like this, that doesn't really matter, right? You don't want to bet on direction really. You just want to bet on the people that got in on the FOMO side of things to get fucked. And that's kind of how you trade these things. And you can go quite heavy, right? Because the invalidation is really tight. The hit rate is like basically above 90%. So like whenever I see these, I go ape mode. Well, Litecoin didn't go below the base even after it was confirmed that it's fake. That is, look at this. That is untrue, my friend. This was the news event, like the fake news event, dumped all the way, and it's now currently trading 1.3% below that. Now that's not as significant, but I mean that might not be the end of it all. Also, Litecoin bounce was in large part to all the mega shorts covering. Yeah, I mean you want to talk, right? Crap fucking short a Litecoin. Like I got the short on Bitcoin because I was like, this is gonna full reverse anyway, and Bitcoin's easier for me to short, and Cred just jumped on the Litecoin train and shorted Litecoin down. Litecoin likely had less leverage pre-pump. Yeah, and into the pump too. People longed Bitcoin with leverage on the news, on the Litecoin news. So yeah, that's kind of how I trade these things anyway. And the good thing is like you catch one or two of those trades, you don't have to do anything for the rest of the year, technically speaking. Now it's obviously not gonna be the case that you like, I mean, you're just gonna do stuff. But I mean, as a trader, taking advantage of one of these, like let's say you're a traditional market trader, right? You're happy when you capture like a move of 20%. Well, now here you have one in like an hour or 2 or 3. So, and the easiest one too, right? You barely take any risk on this. Sometimes there's just free money on the floor in front of you. Yeah, like legitimately this was free money. And one of those setups, if you want to like have another free money setup, is whenever you have this kind of like this is the follow-up setup. I love the combination of both. You have this news event that causes like this whip slash back and forth. If the market crawls up, it's always like 90% of the time gonna have a push up to at least above the wick up here. So that's why I took the trade with a lot of confidence, like the second one that I took, because this is like, people always, like after an event like that, they're always trying to short, right? They're like, holy shit, market is so volatile, whatever, and they start panicking or whatever, and they start shorting. It's always the case. And if the market grinds up into that, it's always, like almost always going to liquidate them. And yeah, that's the follow-up setup. So when you have a news event that goes both ways, right, something like this, if the market starts grinding back up again, it's almost always going to take this high. So there you go. It's two setups that like almost always work out in crypto anyway. Okay. Whip slash, maybe it's the wrong word, whatever. You get what I'm trying to say. Don, how long does it take for a new trader to perform better in just yield farming? Depends on you. Like for me, I outperformed yield farming. I mean, back then yield farming didn't really exist, but I outperformed yield farming basically from the get-go because I started in like one of the most retarded bull markets ever, right? Depends on the market conditions, depends. Like in this market, you're probably not going to outperform yield farming too much by trading. You might be outperforming the market. You're going to outperform yield farming by just holding, but like trading this is pretty difficult unless you kind of take advantage of these things that I just talked about. But it just depends on you. Like there's no guarantee for any trader that you're ever going to be profitable. Anyone that tells you that you're just going to have to take this course or this and that to be profitable is a charlatan. That's just how it is. Like there's just some people, and it's a lot of them actually, that just are never going to be successful trading. And I don't know whether you're one of them or not. It's something that you kind of have to figure out for yourself. You're going to have to find an edge, find something that you're good at, and then, go from there. So, anything else that we could talk about? The SPX has been interesting to say the least. It's kind of been interesting, and this is something I've been watching a little bit. Fuck. This is such a scam. Fucking TradingView rug pulling me. I forgot to to get that back because they canceled my plan after giving me a free one. So like what happened was, and I figured it out now for the people that were around on Sunday. So I got gifted the most, like I had my premium plan running for like years. And then TradingView approached me and gifted me like a premium plan for a year, which canceled the auto renewal basically. And now it's not renewed anymore. Otherwise, I would have shown you how like the SPX and Bitcoin side to side kind of move differently, like move opposite to each other, which is weird because that's not been happening. You can kind of see it right now, right? So Bitcoin's been moving up on the 1 hour, and then the last 4 hours been red, and then the SPX been moving down the entire time, and the last 4 hours been green. That's not typical. So wonder what that's like, what's causing that. Gonna have to look a little bit more into it, but they're moving a little bit opposite to each other right now. Are you poor, Don? Turns out, can't afford the TradingView subscription, is what it is. Nothing is free in this world, to be honest. I mean, I did give them a few bugs that they fixed, so. How much at risk are stablecoins to use regulations? I'm the wrong guy to ask. I don't think it's a big risk. I mean, I don't think you have like a big risk of them going to zero. I think there's a decent risk of them getting regulated, but I doubt that they'd ever be regulated that, like, if you have stable coins, you're just sitting on nothing. That's not what anyone wants. So, yeah. Bitcoin, ETH, we talked about that. ETH, I think, is like just super boring. It's just moving in this giant range here. And ETHUSD, ETHUSD is interesting, right? So the weekly chart is a double top. Double tops usually don't hold. Weekly chart doesn't look bad, right? But the daily chart kind of looks bad to me. But that can change in the next 4 hours. It's the same deal as Bitcoin. So I told you, like I showed you the Bitcoin chart earlier, where it was like I had this zone. I was like, if it flips it, it's gonna moon. And I think it's the same thing here. If you flip this into support, like 3.5K, I think there's a good chance that we go to 3.8K up here. So turn this into support, I think very, very likely to go up here. And then you have like a triple top, so might as well hold on to it. If this daily closes red for some unforeseen reason, which I don't think that's gonna happen, that would be a short entry. Like that's what I usually would short. But I think there's a very, very tiny chance of that happening. So I wouldn't want to speculate on it. But just for your info, like if this closes red, like I'd usually short it. I'm not in the shorting business anymore, but usually that would be a setup. But like I said, doubt that happens. Doug, thank you for all that you do for us. I appreciate you guys coming by. I mean, listening to my rambling and stuff. I can be boring when I want to, and I've been boring. I mean, I like being boring basically. But so appreciate everyone chilling and hanging out. Do you have any altcoin trades in mind? Yeah, I'm looking at XTC. If that pulls back any further, I'm gonna take a trade on that. That's one of the ones. I'm looking at XRP. Same story. Probably gonna buy into strength. We go above red, I'm gonna be buying. Not one that I want to be buying right here because not looking too good right now. I'd much rather be looking for strength on the Bitcoin pair. So if it does kind of smash through resistance, I'm more than happy to buy it. Like those are the two ones that I want to have the most. And then, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm looking at for setups, but those are the two obvious ones. XRP USD looks really good. Yeah, but that's because Bitcoin looks really good. You don't want to be sitting in something just like, and I mean, honestly, like this isn't too pretty. It's not bad. It's just like it's starting to look like it's just making lower highs. So I want to see some strength on the Bitcoin pair, and then I get into XRP again. I'm pretty damn happy with having sold, having sold a couple times pretty high up. So not in a rush, but I still like the idea of having XRP. XDZ partnership with OpenSea is pretty bullish, but not sure after insider trading drama. Not looking good for them. Yeah, the OpenSea stuff is weird. Even worse is, for the people that don't know, one of the heads of OpenSea, basically one of the leading people, what they do have, like on the front page, there's like a promotional tab, whatever, that shows off like some NFTs, and anything that came up there usually got like a pump, like a listing pump basically. And the guy knew what was gonna be there and then just front ran it, like bought it, like allegedly, but it's pretty damn obvious from like looking into the trades. So he bought before, they got listed there basically, and then they sold in, like he sold into the pump, made a couple ETH, even though like OpenSea makes millions, which is so stupid. But yeah, it's not looking good. Like it's not a good look. But that's crypto. People just do stupid shit. Like I don't know why, but like the worst scammers are in crypto, right? It's like if you're already scamming, right? Which I think makes you one of the lowest of the low, even more so in a space where it's so easy to make money, right? Basically, you're gonna have to hard try to not make money in crypto, right? If you're in a space like that and you resort to scamming because you're too shit for everything else, you're already really, really shit. But then if you're like a terrible scammer on top, I mean, Jesus fuck. That is just embarrassing, in my eyes anyway. Is Zcash finally bottoming out? Jesus fuck. Is it? Is it looking like it? Nope. It is fucking horrible. I don't know why my friends keep buying Zcash. Jesus. Stop it. I mean, at some point, it's probably going to pull a candle like this in 2080 or 2090. But fucking hell, this looks so shit that I'm not going to touch it. Like, I traded Zcash a couple times, right? And one of the more memorable times was when I bought it, and it basically 2x'd in old season, and I sold another coin for it that 5x or something, and I realized that Zcash was forever cursed back in 2017, 2018. I don't see a good reason to buy this. I just don't. So many of the big crypto Twitter accounts seem to trade USD pairs, but I agree with you that you always need to consider the Bitcoin pair and weight heavier. I think you need to do both, right? Like, let's say you see, you're like, okay, XTC, for example, right? Let's go look at it. You're like, I'm looking at this, I see the Bitcoin pair, and then it approached the support here, and you're like, I want to buy that. And then you go in the USD pair, and you actually decide, do you want to buy it? And where do you want to buy it? Because you're going to get your better entries and the more liquid pairs on the USD pair. But the idea for the trade, in my opinion, for me anyway, comes from the Bitcoin pair 99% of the time. Because if it can't outperform Bitcoin, I'm wasting my time. And yeah, as easy as that, really. So you use the Bitcoin pair to kind of spot trades. And then you go on the USD pair and support resistances and the best way to get into it and that kind of stuff. That's how I do it. That's how everyone that is kind of been in crypto for a while, in my like, at least to my knowledge, like almost everyone does it. So yeah, I like doing that. I don't know, but the weekly divs on Zcash, Bitcoin paired with Zcash USD above monthly supply makes me hopeful. I mean, you're going to find that on a bunch of coins that have a better narrative, in my opinion, but sure. I mean, I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm not going to talk into anyone's trading business, but this looks like shit to me. Don't really see like, even if the chart would look good, I don't see a good narrative for it to pump. And the chart doesn't look good to me. Like, the Bitcoin pair chart looks shit. the bull market never happened in this chart. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing besides dumping going on. If you aren't investing in crypto, what's the point of trading on the Bitcoin pair? If you aren't like, if you can't outperform the Bitcoin pair, let's say you're like a Bitcoin Cash, you can easily do this with Bitcoin Cash, right? If you're not in Bitcoin, if you're not an investor, why look at the Bitcoin pair, right? And I mean, fair point, right? You just buy Bitcoin Cash. Now you're up from the 1st of April 2019 to now, you're up 5x, right? You're like, holy shit, I'm the most genius trader of all time. And then you realize, wait a second, back then, Bitcoin was much, much lower. And Bitcoin from the 1st of April back then went up 11 times. So the reason why you're looking at Bitcoin Cash Bitcoin instead of Bitcoin Cash USD is because Bitcoin Cash USD is going to be bullish if Bitcoin is bullish. And you're going to think you're the greatest trader of all time because you're going to make like a 2x or 3x or 4x, maybe even a 5x. And then you look at Bitcoin, which was less risky to buy and outperformed it by 2x, right? So, I mean, seems pretty clear to me like why it's so important to look at these things. Because if you don't, I mean, yeah, you might make money. You can just look at the USD pairs. But like, how shit does that feel, right? How shit does it feel when you put like whatever, let's say, what does someone start out with? Like, let's say you put $1,000 in Bitcoin Cash, it goes to $5,000 and you feel euphoric. And then you think that you could be having 11 grand right now if you just invested in Bitcoin. Feels pretty shit, right? And that's because you kind of didn't look at this, which, I mean, is just clearly a bearish chart. So you gotta look at that because the USD pair is always gonna be bullish in crypto, unless Bitcoin is mega bearish and everyone gets fucked anyway. And I mean, that's just as simple as that. Because when crypto goes up, like when Bitcoin goes up, everything goes up, and then you're missing the point. So there you go. What level needs to break and hold for you to be bullish Bitcoin this year? I mean, so we talked about this a couple times now, right? I said back when we broke 40K, right? So this year, I said as long we broke this, we traded above it, we traded below it, and then we started breaking it again. I said, I'm bullish as long as we don't lose this 40K level. And then it rallied. And then we kind of crushed the 50K level. And I was like, I'm going to stay bullish unless we start losing it again. We lost it on the lower time frames. So I was like, okay, now I'm like bearish, leaning bearish anyway, and it broke down, right? Now, given that we've broken this low time frame resistance, I'm back in bullish unless we break the support again. So, and what this does is, right, every time I say this in my invalidation, right, you can see that this has never been broken, right? The invalidation that we talked about back in August still stands. But every time this happens, I can raise it up a little bit, and that's pretty nice because then you risk less basically. So for me right now, I'm bullish unless we break 46.4, and then I'd be be really, really bearish. We break this to the downside, start trading back below here. I don't think 40K is gonna hold. I don't think anything's gonna hold. So there you go. Right now makes more sense to be buying, I think, unless we start losing 46K. And then if we start breaking 50K, then I think it gets really, really bullish. Any chance we get some alpha today? I mean, give me a question that you expect alpha to get from the answer, and I'll see what I can do. how do you come up with these numbers? I mean, it's just support resistance lines, but in general, like you can see this is 40K basically, like 40 point. This resistance is basically 45, but it's like 40K, right? Like 40.5, but it's like 40K. This is the round number, 50K-ish, almost, pretty much to the dollar actually. Those are always going to be important. But I mean, it's just support resistance levels. I mean, I have these on the chart. You see, 40K here, 50K here. Like those are the two big levels. But right now, I think this tiny level and 50K, those are the mega important ones. You break above there, above 50K, gonna have a double top, and you're probably gonna make another double top, and you're probably gonna head higher. And you break the support again, and it starts looking really shit, because then you have like a high, a lower high here, and then momentum starts running out, right? Because this is, in the end, it's all about momentum. In crypto, always has been. So you have your massive run up, and then momentum stalls and you start breaking down. And then the question is, can you get the momentum back? Because the moment momentum is back, shit gets ridiculous, right? But you need the momentum back. And I mean, this has been a pretty damn good move for that. But the kind of smackdown was a lot of momentum in the other side. So if we can't hold kind of this consolidation that came after that, and start breaking it down, then you start getting momentum the wrong way around, right? The bearish momentum, because you have a bunch of bearish momentum here, and then you start putting in the second kind of leg, and you would have bearish momentum again, and I think that would be really bad news. So it's all about like building momentum, and I mean, that's why I think this is really, really important, because right now we had a base, and we were getting some momentum out of it, and that momentum needs to kind of lead to a resistance break, because then we can have some more momentum, basically. Because this is all about FOMO and FUD, right? Crypto traders are simple creatures. They see like a level break or whatever, and they start panicking, and then price goes lower. And then because price goes lower, other people start selling, and it's the same every time. And the same with buying, of course, right? Price goes up and people are like, holy shit, I should have bought more. And then they buy more. Are you watching out for the head and shoulders? Not really. I mean, I get where you're coming from. You're talking about this. I'm not really too worried. But you could argue it, and then the same thing applies, right? If let's say you're talking about this head and shoulders, right? You start losing this, and it starts getting really, really close to being confirmed, and then you're at least gonna go below like this. But I think probably gonna carry lower. So yeah, I don't really care about it too much right now. I care much more about the support. But if it breaks down, it's a good kind of narrative to dump it more. Take a look at the monthly again. I need hopium. Are you bear by chance? Because the only hopium that you're gonna get from the monthly is bearish hopium. How do you feel about the volume? It seems pretty low. It doesn't really matter. Volume's gonna come in the moment you start smashing new highs. It's always the case. Good levels are where traders expect big money entering, exiting the market, because it did in the past. Kinda, yeah. I mean, it's just a level where a lot of people have their eyes on. And for some reason, like usually, like the good levels also, like for example, the 50K area, right? You can kind of see what has been happening like today, right? Bybit's been shorting a bunch. They're all underwater. And if we have like a big push up, that would probably liquidate a lot of them, and that would end up in that resistance for some reason. Might be chance, might not be, but like usually whenever you liquidate shorts, you get some sort of retracement down. So call it what you want. Most of the time it's just a lot of people are watching the same thing, and then they start selling, momentum starts kicking in, or start buying and momentum starts kicking in, and that's why they work, because there's not that much fundamental about crypto, right? No one really knows how to value it. So like having like support resistance lines on the chart is like the easiest way for most people to agree whether like this is cheap or expensive, or whether you should buy or sell it. So yeah. How significant is the Solana debacle going offline and having to be restarted in the near term? I think it's really shit. No, it doesn't have to be shit for price. But like if I was a long-term investor for Solana, right, this would give me pause. Definitely not something you want to see, and definitely not something I want to buy the dip on. Like no matter where this goes, I'm not going to buy the dip. I'm going to give it like a quarter year to half a year, whatever. And then I'll look at it again. But right now, like I don't see a good point. You have a bunch of people that thought this was the future, shown that it's not, at least in the short term. Could still make new highs. It's just for me like that. Like a bunch of people that have a shitload of money in this just got kind of freaked out. And I think that could lead to lower prices, or at least for it to be outperformed by other stuff. So for me, like I'm not going to touch Solana. And I don't understand why everyone wants to buy these dips. Like when you have like a dip or like a pump that is like based on fake news or some other garbage that isn't true, you want to be buying that or selling or whatever, right? But this dip makes sense based on what happened, right? Like this just stopped working. Now, I'm not saying that kills the project or anything. I just say like for me that takes some like it's gonna take a while to build back confidence in this thing. And I'm not the guy that's gonna buy this just based on the fact that it went down a little, because it's still up a shitload, right? It's still up since August. It's still up 250%. Not interested in buying that dip. Even though I think Solana and like FTT and pretty much everything that Sam touches is probably going to go up higher, right? But just based on that, and there's not really good technical setup, I'm not going to touch it at all. ETH is going through the same thing Bitcoin went through in 17. Too many users clogging up network and rising fees. Solana versus ETH is like what people say Bitcoin Cash is to Bitcoin. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I like Solana, but I just think it makes sense to give it some time. Not interested in kind of jumping into like a lava pit basically. And this could go anywhere really, but I just know like a bunch of people that thought this could do no wrong. Now know that it can do wrong. So there you go. When XMR flavor of the month again, I don't think that's gonna come back. I think in general, privacy coins are just a bad buy. As much as I hate it because I love it. I love these coins. Just government wise, I don't think that's gonna, like, I don't think these are gonna play out bullishly. I think they're gonna get killed by governments most likely. So not really gonna be interested in the entire privacy sector anymore. I think the crypto ecosystem is too big for that to kind of stand. So I think like there's gonna be regulations against all of this. I love I love Monero, but it's one of the ones I'm just not gonna buy. Like even if I get a bullish setup, I'm not gonna buy it because I think the narrative for it is gonna be not the best one. You don't want to be trading the thing that could get fucked by any regulations at any time. It's not a market that I want to be trading, as much as it pains me from like a idealistic perspective. But that's not really what this is all about, right? We're in the market to make money, and if you want to invest in something that you have like an idealistic belief in, then do so. But I'm just a trader, so not interested in the privacy aspect in any coins really. So there you go. Privacy coins, buy them to use, otherwise not. That's kind of my view as well. But I mean, I'm not even using them. So, can you explain the thin line between making a trading plan and executing a trade? There's a specific PA you'd like to see when price is at a level, or, I mean, you have a level, right? Price pushes through, retests it, and then you're like, okay, where are we in the greater context of this thing? And you see the green candle poking through resistance, and you're like, okay, there's not that much time left in the day for this candle to go back down, so it's very likely it's gonna close as a breakout. So you go back on the 4 hour, you're like, okay, if I get a pullback back into that level, I'm gonna be buying it, and then it pulls back, you buy, you can buy a little bit, you can buy a lot, whatever floats your boat. And then you see, okay, bears on the lower time frames. When was this? 16, the lower time frame. You see that bears can't push it through, right? And you still have this resistance up here, like this swing high that hasn't been taken out. Oops. And then you just pull the trigger on one of those. You have high time frame confluence with the daily. You have 4 hour confluence with your plan that you've made before, and then the lower time frame, you know that this is the high that's gonna get taken out, and it's almost always gonna be taken out. So you just buy it, and then you just buy the dip, and you have your kind of invalidation probably gonna be below this push up, right? Because I mean that's where the impulse started, and then it's a really, really tight risk reward trade. And then you watch how you manage that trade. Is you watch, okay, is there any push above this level that's getting hard rejected? And the answer is no, even on the low time frames. It's actually been used as support here, with a few pushes below, but nothing that would make a lower low, and then it just keeps on walking up. There you go. Like this one is like a super simple trade, but that's just generally how it works. You don't have to wait for like people to buy ahead of you. If the price action up to that point tells you everything you need to know. And I mean, this is just up only kind of price action, so you don't want to be counter trading it. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that, I mean, depends on how you trade and how you want to be trading. But yeah, that's just kind of that one trade that I can explain because I just took it. Don, can you recommend a good neutral source of news to the crypto space? I found every single one too damn biased in the bullish side. Even the aggregator Crypto Panic shows mostly bullish news. Twitter is pretty good. Just follow a bunch of people on Twitter and you're going to see both sides. Like any kind of news network besides, I mean, the blog's pretty good, I feel like. They kind of cover both sides relatively fairly. But other than that, I mean, just follow like 50 to 100 people, 50, 100 traders on Twitter, and then you're going to have like a relative good understanding of what's going on. ETH about to go. Yeah, ETH BTC is pushing a little. This is going to be a really interesting daily close. It's basically the same thing as Bitcoin yesterday. I wouldn't want to be buying into this right now. I'd much rather, like, this is basically the exact same setup that we've had on Bitcoin on the daily, and we've had it on Bitcoin on the 4 hour. But on this one, like, I want to see it close above and then retest lower for me to take the trade anyway. But yeah, if it pushes strongly, and I mean, there's only 4 hours left, and it's very, very unlikely to close back below. Like, I mean, actually, it's not that unlikely. It shouldn't lose basically this. Like, you don't want to see it go back here. So if this gets engulfed and smacked down, looks really, really bad all of a sudden. So that's why, like, buying into this breakout, not the best setup in my opinion, even if it's most of the time gonna hold, right? Because if you buy here, and it's just 4 hours till the daily close, and the daily close is down here, then you actually bought the Pico top of a bearish setup. But probably unlikely. There's probably not gonna be a bearish setup on this because Bitcoin already kind of broke the bearish setup, right? This is bullish on the lower time frames and on the mid time frames as well. So there's a good chance ETH just plays out the same way. But still, like this is the one time where I try to avoid buying breakouts. So yeah. Are you bullish yet? Fucking Christ. Cred with the questions. Nah, not really, no. Like the NFT space took off and Yats didn't. So I think it's missed its time, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I'm not really sold on it. Like, I mean, you've had NFTs go nuts and you didn't see Yats moon, and Yats actually pulled back with the NFTs as well. So it's kind of like shit situation. I'm not too sold, but I mean, I've been wrong on the NFT front. So like, I actually haven't said much on the NFT front and haven't even thought about it much. So I haven't been wrong on that front, I guess. But I've been too cautious on the NFT front anyway. Gonna change that with the Loom stuff. That's gonna be fun, Loom lock stuff. Gonna play around with that a little bit. Might be the top of NFTs though. Just warning you guys, because I mean, I'm not really into NFTs, and when I get into NFTs, just based on like a friend having a project that I want to support, might be the top. Who knows? Is your profile pic an NFT? The one that I have right now is one, yes. Yep, agreed. Kiss of death. Yeah, 100%. I'm going to take the NFT market down by myself. Only going to cost me like, I don't know, depending on what I'm going to put into this. I'm probably not going to go above like 5 figures. Only going to cost me a little to kill the market. Totally worth it. I'm never going to hear about NFTs again. Totally worth it. So yeah, going for one of those golden loom locks. I mean, nah, I just want to have some wassies. That's kind of my plan anyway. And it's like legitimately, I don't care about NFTs. It's the only reason why I want to buy it, just because if it goes to zero, I mean, at least I supported the friend. And if it doesn't go to zero, I mean, still feel good about supporting a friend, you know? There's no downside for me there, besides losing money, which, I mean, just not going to put too much into. So, going to stay at a reasonable number. Oh crap, sell your JPEGs. I mean, I'm telling you, this is going to be, it's going to be the nastiest NFT crash of all time, just because I put in like a little bit, a tiny amount. You mentioned last stream that you really wanted to get into XTC. Is that still the case? Yes. I actually like this pullback right now. Talked about it a little bit earlier, but yeah, it's getting there. Who cares about friends when you lose 5 figures? Am I right? I mean, I'm just gonna kidnap Loom and take my 5 figures back. Just gonna like in Dubai when he's boxing Rookie. Just gonna wait till the match is finished and then take him to the locker room and then get my money back. That's what I'm gonna do. Define reasonable. Like I said, like I mean, I'm gonna buy like 5 figures of this garbage, not more. But I mean, the art is pretty nice. I actually like the art. So I can meme myself into, I just bought it for the art the moment it goes to zero. Jesus, what is ecstasy? What are you guys talking about? Am I missing something? But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We talked about a bunch of stuff and gone on like longer than I wanted to because I need to get to bed. I'm super tired. So yeah, that's that. But appreciate you guys hanging out, and it's been fun as always, even though I'm struggling because I'm so tired. But yeah, always good to kind of chat about markets. Appreciate you guys coming by. Before I end it, I want to thank the sponsor of the show, which is FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio. If you want to check them out, the links to that are in the description. They have all the kind of cool mobile stuff that you could want. Trading wise, doesn't really get better than that. So if you haven't decided on what to use on your mobile phone, I think that's the way to go. So check it out if you want to. If not, also fine. Like the video because, I mean, I always forget to say it. And we'll see each other on... What day is today? Wednesday, right? Friday, probably. Hopefully. So yeah, we'll see each other Friday or whenever. I don't know. Can't make any promises. See you guys. Bye-bye.